Hey now, welcome to the City Off Campus podcast with your two favorite hosts, Sammy Summerfeld and Jack McFarland. So today we're joined by now former Iowa kicker Caleb Shudak. So 6 years and done. How does it feel now to, you played your last couple snaps for Iowa and now you're kind of moving on. So how have
Yeah,
you been able to grasp that?
it was really bittersweet. That last game was kind of didn't really hit you until the game was over. That hey, like NFL is never guaranteed. This might be my last football game ever. I've been here for 6 years, and it kind of all hit me at once in the locker room, and it was just kind of. I mean, it was really sad, but I spent all that work, get all that time, made all that improvement to finally give myself a chance to live my childhood dream and play the NFL. So, but it's still very bittersweet. I spent quarter of my life at Iowa. But I had a lot of fun, and I'm ready to kind of move on and take my chances the next level.
When you were prepping for the bowl game, did it even feel like it was the last game, or did it just feel like a normal couple weeks where it was like, oh, just another bowl game because I've done this so many times before?
At first, it felt like just another bowl game because we'd been to I don't know four other ones. That was a fifth. Yeah, it just kind of felt like because we'd done it before the whole bowl prep. We had Devo work, which younger guys get work. Practice schedule was kind of built around finals. Um, but no, felt pretty normal. And then by the end of the week, I realized, wow, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to hang out with the guys after the game again. And then it was just kind of like, so the last, I'd say Friday, Saturday, were really started getting a little emotional thinking about like, hey, this is the last time I could do this with all these guys. And um, yeah, it was a little tough, at the end of the game, especially even warm ups. I started thinking, man, I'm never going to, this is kind of, it was 85 and sunny too, but it was still kind of just, wow, I can't believe my career might be over. There's no guarantee of anything after this. So kind of try to take it all in. It just, went by too fast, but
And, the final two games of your career obviously didn't go the way you would have liked them to go. And so one thing I was curious about was, can you kind of take us inside like the Big Ten championship, kind of what that experience was like for you? I mean, you were at Iowa 6 years and you got it ended on a Big Ten championship run. So what was that experience like,
yeah,
despite
I
the
mean,
results?
it wasn't the result we wanted, but, being able to, I remember we were sitting around watching Minnesota play Wisconsin that last night and thinking like, hey, we code Big Ten champs, but that's cool. And then Minnesota obviously won, and it was like, wow. So we had to go through a whole week. That felt like a regular week until we got to Indianapolis, and it was like escorts everywhere. We were in a hotel, and all the fans were there, so it kind of felt like a bowl game. And then it was like you get to the stadium, and I've never been in a dome like that. I'm like, this is just unreal. Then you kind of feel the weight of the game during warmups, everything. It's so I don't know, professional, business like, and it was just an awesome experience, a lot of fun to kind of say we got there. Obviously, we didn't, play our best ball, or we played a really good Michigan team, but it was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to kind of say, hey, I played in Lucas Oil Stadium for the Big Ten championship. Obviously, not the best, but it's still really cool to say, tell guys, hey, we got to go through that whole week. We got to play a 13th game right there and give ourselves a chance. But yeah, some guys can't say that, so that was a lot of cool, a lot of fun. It was really cool for me. So
one question I have going back to the bowl prep is like, how does the bowl preparation practices differ from like the regular season practices? And you said they give a little more time for the younger players to develop and get more snaps. Like, kind of take us into how that is different.
So initially we probably take a couple of days off, give guys a rest, and then the next I know we don't practice every day after that. It's every other day or a couple of days off, a couple of days on. But yeah, the younger guys, it's more of like a spring practice where you get the guys that haven't taken as many game reps, they get reps. So you can give all the starters or the guys that took a significant number of reps some time off, let their bodies heal a little bit before we dive into another game week. But yeah, so like we'll have like a quick practice where kind of like a walkthrough tempo, like an hour long maybe with the entire team, starters, two deep guys, and then after that it's another like 75 minutes of what we call Devo, where the younger guys put pads on and then they do like their own practice where they get 20, 30 reps, where you can start seeing some guys that might get a look in spring ball that can make a difference the next year, and kind of just the beginning of the coach's like evaluation process for the next year, kind of get a little head start on that. But I think that's something we've done every year since I've been there. And kind of nice, being an older guy, we can watch and kind of take a step back and not have to worry about anything.
So during that step back, one question I was personally wondering is, has someone like Tory Taylor decided to take his chances with kicking and like actually kicked off or done field goals during this prep, or is that just off limits in his book?
No, we've actually talked a lot about. We're gonna work with him to do kickoffs. I'm gonna practice with him this offseason. He wants to learn how to do it. And I think that's a good skill to have as a punter. You see so many NFL punters now that do kickoffs for their team. So I think just adds to your value when you ultimately want to get drafted or want to get a chance to the next level. You can say, hey, I can punt and kick off and hold. Obviously, a team's like, hey, that's huge. We can have two guys in kickoff is saves them an extra guy. But yeah, so I think. I don't know if you want me to share that or not, but he's been asking me, he's like, hey, can you show me how to kick off? I go, hey, if you can show me how to punt a little bit, then I think we have a deal. So,
or are you going to try your hand at a little punting?
I just want to be able to say I can do it. So,
Yeah.
If I ever make it to the next level in a team, like something happens at the punter warm-ups, I can say, hey, I can do it. Like it's not going to be a Tory Taylor ball, but I can get it in the air. So
when was the last time you like full on punted in a game, like high school?
I think junior high. I didn't even punt in high school. I played every side of the ball, so I used punt as my breather during the game. I was like, we had a guy that actually likes to punt my whole 4 years, and I'm like, hey, let him do it. I need a break. So I was like, that's perfect for me. But so I don't think I punted in a game since like 8th grade.
Did you ever tell Coach Woods like, hey, I can do it? If you just give me the shot.
I'd always jack around in practice and be like, hey, coach, like, watch, I can put a ball in the air. And it only goes like 45 yards, but hey, it looks pretty. So I'm like, hey, if something ever happens to Tory and, let's have a little fun, I think I can do it. But
were there any skill players that said the same thing? Like, hey, coach, I was that guy in high school.
Pretty much everybody's like, hey, I kicked in junior high or I kicked in high school for the freshman team. Like, all right, come on, let's give it a try. And then they end up hitting the line or putting about 50 yards left. So it's like, oh, okay, you could punt. There's a couple guys, I think Brandon Smith could punt. And I know my roommate, Sean Byer, they could actually put a ball in there and hit a nice spiral. I was like, wow. So there's a few guys, but a lot of guys think they can until they actually try it. And it's just like watching, I don't know, toddlers try to hit a ball. So
did you guys ever do the thing where you either use the jugs machine or an actual punter and you have the linemen or other skill positions go out and try and catch it?
Yeah, that's like a pre-practice thing. Is
okay.
Instead of the punters punting live to them, the punters do their own little warm up, and then we have a machine that hits like kickoffs or hits a punt to the guys so they can get reps.
Did you ever try and catch one?
Oh, I used to shack for the punters during periods too, as a returner. If like Charlie was hurt or Nico wasn't practicing, I would just jump back there and catch a few balls, and then I get yelled at, "Hey, don't get hurt!" I'm like, I'm just having a little fun, I returned punts in high school, so I always pretended if something happened in the game, I'm like the sixth man. 5 guys go down, I could do it. So,
would you call yourself more of like a Charlie Jones type returner when you were in high school, or were you more safe and you would try to play it like field position? You didn't really want to take the chances because Charlie, I think he's addicted to taking chances, and every fan loves that.
100%. In high school, though, I probably take chances, but seeing how fast those guys are in college level, I think I just wait for a catch and just keep myself safe if it ever came down to it. I'd be more like probably Riley McCarron. He took a chance here and there, but he was also pretty safe with the ball. So
with this kind of up and down season that you guys kind of experienced, what was kind of the highlight of it all for you? Like, outside the Big Ten championship, obviously, like, was there a game moment? A play that a kick you made stands out?
For me, I'd say it was the whole Nebraska game. I hate to say it, but I have such a distaste, just being from the western side of the state. I have a lot of family that's Nebraska fans, and I get a lot of their news when I'm home. So being able to go over there and like be a part of I thought a big part of that win and beat that team felt really good, and that's something that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. Other than that, I think the Penn State game was obviously fun. A game, I don't think I've ever heard or been a part of anything so loud. Like my body was like shaking. I couldn't hear for like 2 days after that game. But yeah, that was an experience I'm gonna take with me for the rest of my life.
So you were at Iowa for a couple field storms. So how would you rank those field storms?
I want to say Penn State was the coolest because it was so loud and we all knew it was coming. I think the other ones were Penn State our freshman year.
Yeah,
that was a cool one too. Minnesota 2020 or 2019 when they were undefeated. That was a cool one too. But I still think Penn State. There's just the stadium was so loud for so long. Everybody just wanted to, And then when it came down to, obviously the final couple minutes when we were like, hey, I think we got this. The tension was just building. You could see people creeping down, and then getting off the field. I think it took me 40 minutes to get off the field. That was awesome. So.
And then, you kind of were just talking about, kind of the special teams unit a little bit. What was it like being a part of that group this year? Like, how is that group a little different than other groups in the past? Just between you, Tory, Charlie, some of the other guys in the room. Just what was that kind of like this year for you?
It was fun being a part of, finally being one of those guys. But regardless, it was being part of that group. Everybody had so much confidence in us, not just like in our room, not just like the other specialists or the other returners. I mean, the whole team, if Charlie was going to go return a punt or kickoff, the whole team's off the bench in the game. We all want to see what's going to happen because you never know. Like, he might have a 40-yard return. He might make a couple guys miss. He might take a chance, with a guy right in his face. Everybody's off their feet for that. And being part of that excitement and like the confidence that the team would put forth when Tory gets sent out, I get sent out, or Charlie was out there. It was awesome, having all 100 and some guys on the sideline just, hey, you got this. We're all right. We're good. Like, they just knew, and it was, fun to be part of that, and, kind of a, real confidence builder, and good for the self-esteem, when you have so many guys at your back like that.
Yeah, because
go ahead. You go.
I was gonna say that, I was one of the few teams in football, I'd say pro and college level, where it's just like the fans love watching special teams. Like, the fans love to see Tory make a punt. They love to see you kick a deep field goal. They love to see what Charlie's going to do when he returns. So it just seems like, too, just being a part of that just would be so cool, just because of the fact that, like, the fans genuinely are interested, when the special teams unit comes out, compared to other teams where they're like, oh, we're just kicking a field goal here, or we're just hitting another punt, where, it's just, the way Iowa football plays, it's so reliant on special teams to do their jobs.
Yeah, like, I think his experience coach was just harp on it, and like all their postseason in-season interviews, how important special teams are for us. Like, the fans football IQ is really high. They know field position is huge in Iowa football, and like how we play. They know 3 points in a lot of Big Ten games is going to matter. So, obviously when a big play happens and how invested they get and how loud they are afterwards it's really fun to experience. And like, knowing the fans are just, they enjoy it just as much as we do. Having that is really exciting, and it's really fun to be a part of. It's crazy to think a lot of schools and a lot of guys don't get that, and I think that's something I'm gonna really miss, just having the opportunity to play for fans that really appreciate what we do and kind of know how difficult our job can be sometimes.
And I think it goes without being said that Nebraska game was, I would say, decided the momentum flip with special teams. And,
100%.
And you don't sit there when you watch a game, you go, man, special teams are really going to be the difference here today. But it felt like on social media, every single Nebraska fan was like, this shit's going to come down to special teams and it's going to fuck us again somehow. And it sure did. And it was just unreal to have that feeling of, we have this advantage in the most unheralded part of the game. Everyone says there's the 3 phases of football, but everyone always talks about offense, defense. And it was so evident that day that special teams was the difference. And I think Hawkeye fans really had a giant sense of pride after that game, because it seemed we were flawless that day. Did it feel like that on the sidelines and during in the special teams meetings after that game, that, man, we were locked?
Yeah, like it was cool to see that too, because after, I think every phase played well that game. Like, I don't remember the meeting being like, oh, hey, we could have done this better. It was like, hey, like, really good job, guys. Like, the effort was there, the execution was there. It was a lot of fun, and like, what the best part about it was, the whole week we were like, hey, we have an edge on special teams. Like, that special teams is going to play a huge role in this game. Like, we have no doubt about that. Like, we have an edge. Like, we're the better special teams unit, and we're going to show that. And if we show that, we're going to win the game. And so, to like, actually, in the end of the game, it came down, like, it was a huge punt block. Tory has some huge punts, and we had, I think we scored like, I don't know, 10, 12 points in kicking. I'm like, that ended up being huge. So, it was just the way we harped on all week, and the way the media knew, like, hey, it's come down to special teams the last 3 years. So like, everybody, obviously talked about it, and then it came down to it in the game, and we executed well. And I could be more proud of all the special teams guys. It was a lot of fun.
So I just kind of want, I was looking at your stats of this season before the podcast, and you missed only 4 field goals this year. You were perfect from 40 to 49 range, almost perfect basically from 50 yards out. And then you never missed an extra point. So I was just curious, like, as the season went on, because this was your first full year being able to kick field goals and stuff, did you see your confidence grow as the season went on, or were you kind of just level headed throughout the whole year, or how did your performance dictate how you felt about,
Yeah, definitely. As the season went on, I remember the first couple field goals against Indiana. I was like almost shaking. I was. You kind of like imagine it, you visualize it, but it's not really the same until you're in that position. So like, and then I'd say, every rep I got more and more comfortable. We got to, I think by the halfway point of the season, I think I was at like 10 or 12 reps in the game, and I was fully like, after that. I think pretty much level headed after that. At least I knew I could do it. I knew my routine. I knew how to get to the point where I could make a kick. But I think one thing that being an older guy and going through 6 years of camps and practices, I'm able to detach how I feel and my confidence level from my performance, because I know if I miss a kick, the next one's going to go in. Like, I have enough confidence in myself. I'm missing 2 doesn't happen very often. So yeah, if I miss a kick, it doesn't really. I've had enough reps in my life, like thousands of reps, where I know I can do it, and my performance in the game is not going to dictate. But obviously, like, having success early really helped my confidence later on. But like, I got to the end of the season, I just I was ready to go, and I was hoping my number's going to be called. I obviously want 7 points, but I'm sitting there like I hope we get stall. I hope we stall, and I want to kick a field goal right now. So, but yeah, I think those first few reps helped me settle in. And after that, it was pretty level, and confidence is pretty much the same. It never really failed off. Especially, it helped having guys that were like, "Hey, don't worry about it. We got this," and having guys that had my back in practice. So,
was there ever a specific play or opportunity to go out and kick a field goal where you were almost happy that, like, they didn't convert a touch, they didn't get a touchdown, didn't get the first down, you're able to go and drill a kick? Was there like a specific kick this year where you were like, I'm so glad I got to do that one?
the last one, I think it was, we got stalled against Nebraska. The last one, and it was like, I think we got stalled like the 25 or 26. It was like 44-45. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I hope we stall right now to tie the game, because it's Nebraska. I just wanted to do it, and it's 3rd and 6 or something, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, coaches are like, I heard the coach call like a run play or something, where I'm like, all right, I think we're just setting up for a field goal here. And I was trying not to smile, but obviously excited. I was ready. Like, there's one team I wanted to do that against. It was against Nebraska, so it was a lot of fun to kind of have that. That kick will live with me for the rest of my life. I'll never forget it.
Well, and that's what I was wondering about, like, in the special teams room and stuff, like, and amongst those guys, if you're with them, like, on the sideline, is there almost like a little bit of a hope you guys don't convert 3rd downs and stuff so you get playing time? Like, are there ever those moments, or is it almost like, hey, we just want the team to perform? Like, would you want to play less? Like, like, you're in a unique position where, like, if they do really well offensively, you're only going out for an extra point or whatever. But if it's a little bit of a tougher game, you get to be on the field a lot more and do what you're, wanting to do,
Yeah. I can't speak for the punters. I don't really know how Tory feels about. I mean, I think he loves hitting like pooch balls and stuff, but I know for field goals, like, selfishly, I'm okay if we stall like a 30-yard line, we get attempt a field goal. I mean, I think the fans, I think the team wants to score points, but if it's gonna help us win if we're gonna win at the end of the day, like, I'm all for it. I'm like sitting there. I think every good kicker is like, they just want to kick. So like, it's tough sitting there. Like, I love when the team scores. Well, they score 55 against Maryland. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, but I still think it's fun when that field goal. I'm like, all right, here we go. I think that's kind of keeps me on my toes, and yeah, every good kicker wants to kick. So it's kind of, but yeah, we always want the team to win. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to win, like, because Penn State, when we threw that, I don't know, backdoor post route to Nico. Obviously happy for that. We wanted to score. Like, that was huge. They put the game away for us. So, but yeah, a lot of kickers want to kick, and I'm one of those guys. Like, selfishly, I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, we're at the 20-yard line. It wouldn't be a bad time to take a sack and set us up for a field goal. But no, I just want to win at the end of the day. So,
is there ever a difference for you, like, when you're getting on the field to kick an extra point compared to a field goal? like extra point, you were 100% this year. So I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
like, is it just like, oh, I know this is like, this is nothing, no matter what the conditions are on the field or anything, or is it kind of like a field goal too, where you're kind of like mentally like thinking about it?
That's a really good question because so you're so close in a college PAT that it's like, oh, I should go out there and just make this all the time. But I think my worst kicks this year were actually some of my PATs. I'm only 21 yards away, and I'm almost hitting the upright sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's not good. But it also comes down to sometimes we have like pick six. I'm on the bench drinking water, talking to Spencer. There's a pick six, so I'm finding my helmet. They're starting the play clock, and I'm like, oh shit! It's like I didn't get a hit a warm up ball. I didn't get on the bike. I didn't stretch. I'm walking out there like, oh, this could go really good or this could go really bad. But
Well,
no, I think PATs are a different animal.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you too, is like, how do you stay loose when when you're expected to go on the field in a moment where you're like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to come out right now. Like I'm like, thinking whatever, the game's just going on and you're just hanging out on the sideline.
Like the Indiana game, for example.
Yeah,
that's a good example.
Because that was our first PAT, and I'm sitting like, well, obviously it was a pick six, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't hit a ball in like 45 minutes. I'm like, and it was a terrible kick. I mean, if they would have like put their hands up, it would have been blocked. I almost missed left, and I go, coach comes over, what was that? And I go, I don't know. It's over. It was 1 point. We're good, right? But no, I was nervous for that one because I'm like, oh god, we're like 20 yards away. I can't miss. But yeah, usually in a game after that, it's kind of just when the defense is out there after a couple of games, I'm like, I actually got to get on a bike every once in a while and make sure I'm loose just in case, Jack gets a sack, somebody gets a strip sack, and then, Campbell picks it up for a scoop and score, or Riley gets a pick six. I'm like, I better be ready. So kind of learned after that. I'd sit down, but then I'd get on the bike every couple minutes. I'd, make sure my hamstrings are loose. So nothing happens. I can go out there and hit a good ball.
That defense just never give you a break off.
No, I could never just actually check out and just, unwind and relax. It was like, oh shit, Ryan, we gotta be ready. We might have to go out there and hit a ball here in a second. So
you opened the episode, you're talking about how Lucas Oil was the first time you'd ever been in a dome like that. We had, before the Big Ten championship, we had Tyler Kluver on, and he was talking to us about how he was excited for you and Tory to be in an indoor setting. How did you see during warmups and throughout the game, like how the ball came off your foot? And were you sitting there like, God damn, I wish Iowa would have just built a dome like 10 years ago, because we would be overpowered as a special teams unit if that was the case?
Oh yeah, like I remember in warm up, I'm sitting there, I'm hitting balls. I'm like, no, I don't even need to hit balls anymore because like there's not gonna be any. Usually, I spend half the warm up like, all right, what's the wind doing? Because in a lot of stadiums it's swirl, so it might be in your face one way, might be coming a crosswind over on this side of the field. Like I didn't have to do that, but I'm just like hitting balls, and I'm like, I'm loose, so I should probably stop. But it's so cool, because it's like a perfect 70 degrees. There's no wind. You hit a ball and exactly like I'm like, if I hit it 60 yards. It's going 60 yards. There's no question about it. Like Tory's like, he's gonna hit a ball towards the sideline. It's gonna stay on the sideline. The wind's not gonna blow it back. Like, so I mean, just not having to stress about that and worry about that. It kind of stay calm, and it helps keep those nerves down too. You don't have to worry about anything like that. It's just going out there and hitting a good ball. So.
And speaking of pro stadiums and stuff, I wanted to touch on, now you're kind of going into draft prep. So what's that now going into this spring looking like for you? What's kind of the schedule? Where are you planning to train? Like what's kind of going on from that aspect of things?
Yeah. So right now I'm kind of shopping around for an agent. Have some guys I'm trying to talk to, kind of, play the field, do my due diligence and figure out, who's going to best represent me and give me the best opportunity. Because a lot of times it comes down to who they know, what they know. Because, obviously if some guys, some guy's gonna retire in a couple of years or a year. Hey, if you want to sit and be, on the practice squad for a year, like you might want to go try it with these guys instead of, going to a 2-week try with these guys. They're going to cut you anyway. But no, so other than that, I think I'll start training in Iowa next week. That's where I'll do most of my like strength training. And then, obviously we have an indoor, so I have a place to kick, but I'll travel a little bit. I'll probably travel to like Arizona with Jamie Cole. He does a huge Cole's camp, and I'll work with him a little bit. There's a guy, I think Zonner, he's out of Phoenix too. Work with him a couple of times just to kind of fine tune a few things. Other than that, I think I'm doing the East-West Shrine game in Vegas on the 3rd. I'm gonna do that. That'd be fun. Just kind of get like an NFL practice week, kind of work out for some scouts, and then obviously kicking the Raider Stadium is gonna be sweet. But no, other than that, just lift and train at Iowa and find an agent that'll help me kind of steer my way around until I get to pro day like the end of March.
That's awesome. So I guess like with the East-West Shrine game, do you know who you're playing for yet? Like which side or
I think
East or West?
I think in the West.
okay.
Yeah.
What? How does that even get determined? Or is it just like they just pull
They
names?
must draw a line somewhere and then just.
Oh.
I must be like I'm like so central. I'm like, how do you?
Yeah.
I could probably be on either one, but I think the other kicker's from South Carolina, so I'm assuming he's East. I don't actually know anything yet. I'm still trying to figure out like flight plans and all that, but so I'm guessing West. But I think that'd be a cool experience to kind of play in that stadium and get a little exposure like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you get to knock out 2 NFL stadiums already.
Yeah, I could say I went to Vegas and played in that new. I think what's it Allegiant Stadium or whatever.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
And
That's
it
cool.
looks so sick. That stadium looks unreal.
I can't wait to see how it looks huge. I can't wait to kick in it.
Yeah, and I don't even know what direction, which end zone it is, but they have that like lit flame looking thing like on top. I don't even know what it is, but it just looks like an eternal flame is burning somewhere in that stadium. And I just think, man, they're really going for it. That's next level looking. One like going back to the indoor, is it are all indoor stadiums pretty like consistent in terms of how they are inside, or are you like still trying to figure out if like one is different than the other? Because like you said with Lucas Oil, is like a nice 70, no wind, pretty chill. Like, do you think that there is a difference, or is it all pretty consistent? I'm not really sure.
I'm not quite sure. I think it's all pretty consistent. Like you're not gonna have a whole lot of wind. I mean, the sun might be different because I know like Dallas has their glass is behind one of the goalposts. I think what is it? The Charger Stadium. They have the same thing. They have like an opening where the sun comes in, so you obviously have to play that. But I think the backdrops can be different. Like I know it was weird seeing Lucas Oil, it was so much darker on each end that the goalpost looked so far away. It was so weird.
It was like an illusion almost.
Yeah, it was like I'm like you just see these like really bright yellow poles and then it's just dark. I'm like, God, they look so far away right now. I'm only like 40 yards. Like at Kinnick, I'm like 40 yards looks like I'm like it's like right there. I can like touch it. But so like kind of like I think how they're built, like if they're like higher or bowled out. I know Lucas Oil was kind of deep. Maybe that played a role. I don't really know. Hoping to like when I get to the Vegas Stadium, I can kind of see if that's something that's consistent or different. But I think that's the only thing I can think of.
And then the other question I have is, have you talked to Keith Duncan at all about this process and kind of like what went on for him after he had graduated and trying to take anything from that?
Oh yeah, I was actually just texting him before I got on with you guys. Kind of figure out who his agent was, what they recommended, kind of get in contact and see what he recommended. Like, hey, is there something you did that you liked, or something you did that you didn't like, or things that you wish you would have done? So he's been kind of helping me out, kind of figure out who to go to, who to avoid, and then saying what he recommends. Like, hey, I wish I would have done this. I'm like, oh man, I'll look into that. I didn't think about that. So yeah, he's been a lot of help too. He's like, hey, if you ever want to stop by Des Moines, we can work out and kick. I'm like, I might take you up on that. So
definitely. Is he still actively like, training, kicking, doing all of that? I haven't really been following Keith that much recently.
I don't know if I assume so. I don't know if he's kicking a whole lot. I know he does his kicking camp, so I assume he stays active kicking. But I know he still has his agent. So my guess is he's still working out. But I don't want to speak for him. But yeah, I'd love to work out and have kicked with him in probably a year. So
that's awesome.
How was like the special teams room like after the season's been finished now? Like you were with Keith for the majority of your career, and after like this is the first season where you were, I would say, without Keith, and you were the leader in that room for the kickers. Like how was that different for you to kind of be more of a leader this year?
It was kind of a growing experience, learning how to be more vocal. And Keith was a great teacher. Keith knew how to like step back, look at something, and then like coach it at a level that other people could understand it. So I had to learn a lot from like that was hard for me initially, kind of sitting back and the younger guys watching and then kind of giving my input in a way that was understandable for everybody. So yeah, it was obviously a learning curve. That's not something that came natural to me. But I learned a lot from Keith. I kind of took what he did and what he would like, how he would break things down with the younger guys, and Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think it was a really good experience, kind of being able to, I can take some of those skills I learned and take them with me to the next level, or the workplace, whatever ends up happening. So
What's the biggest thing you're gonna miss about playing college football?
I'm gonna say after the games in the locker room and the bars with the team after big wins. I think that's gonna be tough. Those are experiences that some of the games, I remember them a little bit, but it's more, hey, I remember locker room after this win. I remember going to I'm going to Summit after this win. Or going to I remember going to George Kittle's house after one of the games our freshman year. I think it was after the Michigan game. Little freshman me, I'm like, wow, what am I doing here? I don't remember a whole lot about the game except the kick, and then going to George's house, and I was like, this is sweet. So
That's great.
When's the pro day you said is in, would you say March?
I think it's like the week after spring break.
And
So,
and then like from there, it's just kind of wait and see, keep in contact with your agent at that time, and then just see what opportunities come up.
yeah, I think you wait till it's like the draft day.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of kickers don't get drafted. I think this year's a heavy punter draft, so there might only be one kicker that gets drafted. But after that, it's wait until that's over, and then you get your agents kind of in contact for free agent deals, or if they don't want to give you a free agent deal, they'll, hey, come in, try out these days, and then that's like what mid-April, I think. My dates are all, I'm still trying to figure that all out, but yeah, then once that's done, May is like the rookie mini camps or tryouts, whatever it is. And then you kind of go through that, and then if they want you back, come in for camp, whatever, that's end of July to August. So a lot of it's just like you keep training, keep working, but it's not quite as like, hey, I'm not training for a pro day, so I'm not training just to perform a drill or hit a certain ball. Like I'm just training for game time now.
And I don't remember when we last talked, but who is your NFL team of choice?
I don't. I'd have to say.
Were you
I
kind
never
of like
had
on the
one.
fence? Yeah,
I was like, I never really
right.
had one.
That's right.
I think my dad cheered for like the Vikings when I was little, so I was like, oh, hey, the Vikings are cool. Like, they're
Oh, so you're in turmoil as well right now. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm like,
we're Bears fans here, so we understand kind of how that's feeling. I just didn't know if you were like actively rooting for someone in the playoffs. We haven't, and we, probably won't for the foreseeable future. So just wanted to get that, out there before the playoffs started.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for the Bears fans. I know my roommate Austin Spivak, he's a Bears fan, and just emotional roller coaster for him.
But the one consistency I will say all season has been the kicker that you watch, Cairo Santos. I mean, the guy's been nails. Absolutely so nails all year. I mean, he's been the unsung hero that has just kept the Bears in games, it feels like at times, because on offense, they take 3 steps back and 1 step forward, and it's just there's no positivity. I mean, when you got Nick Foles, Matt Nagy, I'm so glad it's done. I'm so glad. And just a little off the record, I mean, not off the record, off topic, like, as a Vikings fan, did you want Mike Zimmer gone? I didn't really feel like he was much of a problem.
I don't think he was. I think they were so close to being like an 11-win team. Like, obviously, what were they, 500?
Yeah. They had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, and like a lot of it came down to like 2 minutes, like 2 minutes before half, or 2 minutes into the game. Like they weren't bad. Like they're not like they got blown out by everybody. So I mean, kind of different about it.
They beat the Bears' ass. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot, but they did that. So they beat the bad teams. That's always the good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of the Bears, though, like, I mean, I know you guys are probably I don't know if you're still heartbroken about the double doink with Cody Parkey.
Yes.
Hey, that ended up getting you to Cairo Santos. I mean, that dude has been, what is he, like 95% the last like 2 years?
Yeah, but did you hear like how it kind of went down? What Nagy did that following offseason and going into the tryout
or whatever?
But did you hear how he handled the tryout? He had them kick from the exact spot that Cody missed from. He had every single kicker come in and kick from that spot, and then he marked it down to Eddie and then 2 other guys. And I was like, your brain is broken if you're just gonna have these guys kick from the same spot.
I remember that because they reported like the numbers were not good.
Terrible.
I think Eddie, and then who was the other guy's name?
Oh my God! There was Chris Blewett. They had Chris Blewett, I know for sure. And then
because they kept 2 guys after that.
There was a Fry. I don't remember his first name.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
But
no,
they
we
kept
had
because
like
there's only
8
two that made
kickers.
it. Yeah, they were like 2 for 8 from that
Yep.
spot. And they ended up keeping those 2 guys. And I'm like, oh my God, that was just I can't imagine like the stress and the pressure because like everybody knew what happened.
Everyone's eyes were on the Bears in that
Oh,
position.
I know.
Everyone.
Oh, I
Well,
remember that. That
you
was
you
wild.
you bring up Cody Parkey, and it reminds me of videos of him training and kicking balls at light poles and just banging them. And you think, well, no shit, he hit the bar every single time that year. He's been training to do it his whole life. Have you ever just like kicked balls at light poles? I just want to put that out there and let you say yes or no.
Yeah, I did yesterday actually.
Jesus.
So it's different though in the Midwest. Like if you're practicing that in the Midwest, I'm aiming like 5 yards left to the wind to blow it back. So
Fair.
you know,
Yeah, and he was kicking in Florida, and he definitely
so
had
like
different temperatures. Yeah. Okay.
it's different when you kick in the Midwest because like every day like 10 or 15-mile-an-hour winds, and then obviously it gets colder. So I think being in the Big Ten, that's like a competitive edge for us. A lot of us know how to kick in those kind of conditions. So you know,
Oh, but just
I'll do it, but I'm practicing it with wind, so
right. Well,
I'm not quite as successful.
Bears fans see that drill and see any kicker do it, and they immediately get like PTSD trauma, and they go, "That's gonna break the kicker. Like he's not allowed to do that." So it's good to hear someone like you say that it's normal. This is not a taboo thing that we can just peg to Cody Parkey for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. I think most guys do it because if you can hit a 1 foot wide pole, you should be able to make between whatever the uprights are, 18 feet or something like that. So
pretty good point. Didn't think about it like that.
Are there any specific, like, if you get the opportunity to play in the NFL, are there any specific stadiums that are kind of like on the bucket list? Like, I'd love to kick here, or I'd love to kick there.
I'd love to kick at Dallas's their stadium. I think that would be just it's one of the biggest stadiums in the world.
Jerry World.
Yeah, I think that'd be sweet. That's tough. I need more.
Soldier Field would be the hardest field to kick at.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's one of the windy, obviously the windy city, but I've heard it's one of the toughest stadiums to kick in. The wind's kind of going every damn direction. I work. Jamie Cole he runs his own camp. He consults with the Bears, or he used to consult with the Bears. But yeah, he's like, yeah, it's one of the toughest places to kick. You don't know which way the wind's gonna go. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. But that'd be a fun stadium to play in. I think, are they gonna build a new one?
Yeah, they're okay. So they had their end of the season press conference last week or earlier this week, and the only thing I took away from it, even though we have a head coaching and GM vacancy, was that it takes a long time to close property deals on large properties. And they alluded to the fact that they're looking at the idea of having the stadium. They wouldn't say they would, but it's gonna happen. They're gonna have a retractable roof, probably. It literally will have. Yeah, has to.
Yeah, I think so. I think Dallas Stadium and then MetLife, the Giants Stadium. I think that'd be another sweet place to play.
Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool.
I think the Vikings would be cool just because it's a dome.
Yeah,
it's like a all glass dome.
It's a sunny dome. Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool to be in. So,
you got anything else, Sam?
No, this is great.
All right, Caleb, we can't thank you enough for coming on, and good luck the rest of the way, training, all of this entire process. It's probably going to be a whirlwind, but it's once in a lifetime opportunity. So good luck. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
And like always, guys, not the same time, same place. Be sure to check out the Big Grove giveaways we're doing right now. We will see you guys later.